Ammara, and today I'm excited about the guest we have in the house. We have the one and only Ammara Brown here to talk about her music career and the upcoming album, AMMARTIA. Ammara, welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me.
How are you?
A lot of things.
You must be glad with the launch of the album coming up soon on Friday.
I am. I'm extremely exhausted, but at the same time, I think I'm working off of excitement and anxiety.
I can imagine you must be very excited though.
Yeah.
So maybe if we can start, who is Ammara Brown?
Ammara Brown is a musician and a mother and a mogul in the making.
Okay. And when did your music career begin? Who inspired you?
The career part began later, but the inspiration was a child. My father inspired me, and my mother nurtured the inspiration. She turned the passion into an obsession. So there was a hell of a partnership. I must have been 4 years old. My earliest memory of singing is when I was 4 years old. And I was playing Mary, Mother of Jesus. I remember just always feeling like I needed to sing. That was the most natural thing. Other people were playing with dolls, and I was just like, yeah, that's cool, but can we get some music? That kind of thing. And probably by the age of 9, that was my first professional experience.
Experience at 9?
Yeah. My father always had, shows and stuff like that, and I would always just hop on stage and all this kind of thing. And I remember one day, this particular studio was looking for, people for an advert, for the Olivine advert. And quite literally, they came to audition certain people and picked people out of the schools, and they called me for a second audition, and I did that, and I made it. So I got to meet and greet and work with Uncle Tuku. And that was my first paycheck. I was 9 years old, and I was a little musical / actress type
So it's in
vibe.
the blood, the genes.
Partially genes, but more so hard work.
Hard work, true,
Yeah.
hard work. And then from 9 years old, like the journey to who you are now.
Oh my God, that's so long. Let me think. I remember I did a couple of adverts, TV adverts, and then I did the usual stuff, choirs, bands, stuff like that, demos. I recorded my first demo when I was 13. And I remember sending it to my dad because I was in the States at the time, and I was in the Martin Luther King choir, and I was in 2 different choirs at school as well, both my level and advanced level as well. Just really 10,000 hours started going in. When I moved back to Zimbabwe, I joined the Storm. I was a part of my dad's band. And I remember just working like grueling hours, like from 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. on any particular weekend. So others were going to the movies at the age of 14. But I remember what sparked it was like, I was like, Daddy, I need toiletries. I need money for toiletries. And he was just like, okay, here's some money. But if you want to come, like, get your life, come to work. So the work ethic was already just inbred. And my mother was extremely supportive in that respect. She was the one that showed up to every talent show, she paid for every demo, she did a lot. So hell of a partnership there, even though they were divorced by then. And then, 3 years later, I had an incredible amount of experience from the Storm, and then I moved to South Africa to go and study music. And I recorded another demo. And within a year, I got my first record deal with America's Gallo Records. And I remember my parents being so excited, but I couldn't figure out why something just wasn't clicking, like, inside me. Like, I was like, why do I feel like this is great, but, I'm just not, I'm just not excited. And I couldn't understand why, but I didn't want to say anything at the time because they were just so proud. And my dad was still based, he was based in Harare, so for him to come out to Joburg just to, celebrate with me, that was really, really beautiful. And they shelved me, basically. What happens when you shelve someone is they sign you. You can't record with anybody else, but you can't record with them either until they have your budget. So So in the meantime, I started going to college. I started studying music, and I did really, really well. They moved me up to second year in like 3 weeks. I was in first, yeah, I was actually late for class because we didn't have the money on time. I was 6 weeks late for a 10-week term. And I started week 6, week 7, week 8. They said to me, do you want to move to second year and second term? And I was really nervous because I didn't have very much musical theory. You know, you have to have theory, music business, music history, and I didn't have, you know, as much as I needed to, but I caught up really quick. So I moved up to second year, graduated with honors and distinctions that year, and started my third year. And my mother called me on Easter and she said, we're canceling your contract with Gala Records. And I was like, excuse me? And she's like, yep. I was 19 at the time, and she said, we're going to cancel your contract so you can go audition for Idols. And I thought she was insane. Like, I thought, this woman has now lost it. She's given up on my career. Like, I was so gutted. I was crying. I was vomiting from being so upset, you know. And yet she was right. It was the perfect thing to do because I missed the Zimbabwe auditions. It was a 7-country search, and I had to audition in Botswana. So we drove out as a family to Botswana. My mom, my sister, my stepdad, and his mom. And I auditioned and I made it. So it turned out I made it in the top 100. I made it to Kenya, which they held the top 100, top 36, top 24. And then Africa started voting and they put me into top 10. And I bowed out gracefully at top 5. And I'm so happy that I didn't win because I wasn't ready, you know. I was just 19. So Eric Moyo won that year. And he was just fantastic. I was so super proud of him. And I learned so much just from watching him, you know. And I was looking forward to the day where had just come into myself as a performer. I was already a strong performer, but there was more to grow and more to learn. And that's how I became more comfortable in front of a camera, because obviously it's millions of people watching you across Africa every week, you know, so pressure and, you know, that kind of thing. And I was just really camera shy is the thing. As I aged, I became camera shy, so I had to like get comfortable again in front of a camera and just be myself and find myself as a performer. And I moved back to South Africa and went back to college, signed another record deal. And after I finished my third year, I said to my mother, listen, I can't do this because I was a really great student. But the problem with being a student is you can't be a great student and a great professional at the same time. It's either one or the other. And I'm an obsessive person. So when I do something, I'm just going in 110%. Exactly. I'm putting my all into it. And I couldn't find time to be a present person in my career. I was just like, I need to start doing more in terms of contributing into the home. I was still under my mother's roof, you know, that kind of thing. I just wanted to get on my feet. So I signed another contract and I started working with Soulful Entertainment, Naked DJ, Ammunition, Ramesh Messina, the Messina twins. And it was great in terms of just getting a chance to really like start writing more and recording more and just being me, as opposed to, you know, prior to that, I felt like the record label wanted me to be more American pop, but like on a, I don't want to say Britney Spears level, but just on a level where I was just like, that doesn't feel right, you know. So I was also trying to find my sound and that kind of thing, and that was really great. And then I became pregnant. So I mean, it's my life. There's just so much. There's just so much, and I'm trying to cram it all. I became pregnant, and I was just so scared. I was so scared. You know, I was not stable as an individual yet. You know, I hadn't, you know, found my independence as well. And so I was really nervous because my parents and I had invested so much time into my career. And when you become a mother, that, you know, that's like that's just like, it's not a job. It's just a title that has a lot of responsibilities, you know. And But my mom, was so happy. She wanted a grandchild so much, and I'm the oldest of the 4 girls that she had. And I was like, "Are you crazy?" Like, I remember she used to say, "When are you gonna give me grandkids?" And I just used to think she was so crazy. I was like, "Mommy, ain't nobody got time for kids. Like, we gotta get the career, And so she was so excited. I thought she was gonna throw me down the stairs, though, like. It was supposed to happen in a certain kind of way, classically you get married, you buy a home, then and it didn't happen that way. And yet when I told her, she was like,
How's the reaction to it?
she was like, "Oh, this is brilliant, come here." And she gave me a hug, and I was like, oh my God, I loved her. I never felt so loved. And I mean, I felt love before, but that was a turning point, like on a level where you realize that your parents are just people, and they really, really want you to be happy, and they really want you to be fulfilled. And a baby is a blessing. That's really just it, and that's all. And though I was a lot more nervous about telling my dad, because I was daddy's little girl, so I was like, oh, he's gonna fly out to Joburg and kill somebody. Yes. So my stepdad decided he was going to tell him, before word, went through the grapevine. So he calls my dad and he tells him, and he says, "Okay, put her on the phone." And I was just like, oh, this is it. We're going in. And I was like, and he's like, "My baby, why are you crying?" And I'm just like, I started, like, I couldn't even hold it. And he was like, I was like, oh my God. I felt like, I was scared that I had disappointed him. And he's just like, "Mara, stop crying, my baby. You are an amazing nurturer. You've taken care of all your siblings. You're going to be a great mother." And I stopped crying. He dried my tears just with that statement, And eventually he came to South Africa, and we all sat down, and he says, "Okay, so what do you want to do going forward?" I was just like, "I don't want to get married."
You chose no to.
I refused. I point blank refused. Bakamil wanted to at the time. And, he's classic in the way that he thinks, like, let's do it for the child and da-da-da-da-da-da. But, there's more to it. I had seen my parents divorce, marriage happen and fall apart. And I just believe that marriage is about more than just the children. If the 2 individuals that are in the marriage or the head of the home aren't happy with each other, what is the point? Do you get what I mean? And I just didn't want that for myself. I didn't want my child to grow up like that, because I didn't feel like we would grow together in the same direction as people. When you're married, you have to have the same core values. And there's just so much that I just knew. I mean, I loved him, but not enough to get married, And yeah, all that happened, and my grandmother came, and I remember my father just saying, "Listen, we'll take the baby after a couple of months, but you need to go back to school, just finish your degree." And I was like, oh my God, how am I going to leave my child? Like, and they're just like, well, my mother was just like, I'm your mom. Like, there's nobody better who's going to be able to do that. You'll be fine. You just do 18 months. You do an accelerated version, because it's supposed to be 3 years. You can do it in 18 months, and you'll be back in time for your baby, to be all of 2 years old. And the thought just, it made my stomach turn, even though I knew my mom would be fantastic. But, I'm a nurturer, and I love to love, and I love kids, and I couldn't imagine leaving my child. So anyway, my grandmother shows up, and she said, "Do you want to come home?" And I said, "Yes, I'd love to come home, actually." And she said, "Okay, well, if you're certain about that, then you're welcome to come home. Just let me know." And so that's how I moved back to Zimbabwe in 2011. I left all the studios, I left the record label. I said to them, "Listen, I'll be back, but if anything, we can just coordinate, thank God for the internet, you know what I mean? Like, we can always just, we can always just release it there and that kind of thing." And so I gave birth, and 3 weeks later, I sounded like a man, actually, because I had given birth to my son, and my voice, all this testosterone was still like circulating in my system. So I was so scared. I was so scared that I wasn't going to be able to sing. And I remember my dad saying to me, he was having the first reunion show with Chioniso. And And he said, Mara, I need you to come back into the band. And I was just like, why? He's just like, just come for the show, you know. I'm having a bit of an issue with, you know, Ningi Ningi, just come in, just come and hold the fortress down. And I was like, okay, cool. And I just had the most amazing time. I missed being on stage with my dad. I missed being on stage with Chioniso. And the place was packed. It was just full house and just full of energy. And we brought the house down. It was so great. And afterwards, my dad was like, now I know what you meant about your voice. You know, like, we were chomies. Yeah, we were chomies. And Chioniso was like, you know, when you did the splits, I thought, oh my God, oh my God. Oh my God, you know, I remember her coming down with her hoshos and she was like, is this child going to get up from these splits? You know, just, oh gosh, it was such a good time. And so I spent a couple of months back in the storm, but I realized I needed to get back on my own grind, you know, and that is exactly what I began to do. I started searching for management of my own and just, you know, band members that I could work with. And unfortunately, my mother passed away in that time. Beginning of 2012, my mother passed away. BP shot up. And that was that. 2 months later, my father passed away. And
it was 2 months after your mom.
Yeah, it was really crazy. It was an extremely difficult time for me. And I think, you know, on one hand, I was just super driven, even more driven than ever before, to find myself as an artist and just create my own ground. But it was difficult. And let me just put it to you that way. I was working all the time. 2012 was just 2013, Chioniso passed away. And, you know, it's this battle between I'm somebody who, and I learned this, I drown myself in my work sometimes to escape personal grief. And I had to own up to that this year. I absolutely realized that, you know, because you can't run from it, you know, but it's easy to find an escape. Some people escape, you know, in bad habits. My good and bad habit is my work, you know. Anyway, so I just worked some more, and Ammara's brand started growing and growing and growing. And here we are today. I'm looking at you.
And we're about to talk about your upcoming album.
Yeah.
Wow. That was a mouthful, though.
I told you, it's a long story. I didn't even finish. It's like, it's a lot. I'm going to write a book.
No, you do need to write a book. You have quite a lot to say, clearly. And your final breakthrough, like, for people to then start saying, Ammara, when was it?
It's so weird because it was like certain groups of people in 2012 recognized and certain groups of people in 2013 recognized. And I remember, like, by the beginning of 2014, after I released Kure Kure, that became, you know, I remember Jar saying to me, please can I put our video on my DVD? And I said, why, Jar? And he's just like, I was supposed to have 6 videos on this disc. So please, can I put Kure Kure? And I was just like, you know what? Okay. Because we were supposed to exchange markets anyway. And I thought, you know what? All right, let's do that. And we just had such a great time just working together. And it was just so brilliant to watch somebody of his nature, because I was planning Andy Brown Forever. I'd been in studio for Andy Brown Forever, which is a tribute project to my dad. And I was looking for the right type of artist, you know, to showcase just the kind of music that my father made. And I didn't really know Ja. I remember him just saying, okay, well, come to the show. You know, I'd love to do that. Come to the show. And I was like, okay, great. And I'd never seen him live, but I was curious about this name that was buzzing at the time. And I went to watch him and I was just like, wow. I was like, yeah, exactly. I was just like, this is it. I get it. Because because you know, it's rare to see artists who not only make good music, but their delivery on a stage is just as powerful. So when me and Ja got onto the stage, it was just like, yeah, you know what I mean? It was just a lot of good fun and a lot of good energy, and I learned so much from him, and we exchanged so much. He used to practice his English on me. He was so shy to speak English, but he was just a very humble somebody, and I started folding. I started releasing singles, and my fan base started growing, and I remember just getting in and out of depressions, because at the same time there was a lot of public hoorah about things that didn't exist, and just a lot of unnecessary scrutiny and misunderstanding and misconception. And I remember my father saying to me, the media will build you just to break you down, and so I just felt like I went into a bit of a cave, and I started just writing more, as opposed to just being in public all the time. I got really exhausted from that, and and I remember I recorded with XQ. And I started getting into film as well. I did TV, I did movies. I remember end of 2015, I was working with Titan at the time, and I remember Titan saying, we always said we would work together, but we just didn't know when the right time would be. And I was already in the process of working on the album, and I said, okay, well, listen, I already have studio time at JP Studios. Why don't we just go use my studio time and we just go do it? And so we finished writing, and we went in there, and Juicer had sent the beats, and a beautiful guitarist named Humphrey, oh my God, he did so amazing. And that was, just a different type of single. It was, Afro pop, and it was just really balanced in terms of the sound that I was trying to achieve as a pop artist, as an Afro pop artist, let me rather say. And last year was just the longest. It was one of the longest years, but in a positive way. It was a two-sided coin both ways, because on the one hand I had my sister pass away in 2015. So while I was in the process of just trying to complete the album and just be present and just keep it pushing, I was just also again struggling with that, and just up and down, just trying to keep food on the table, because you when you're an artist in this country, I don't even know of an artist that's paid their value, to be honest with you. Actually, I think Josh should get, Tuku should get $20,000 the minute he steps into a room. That's what I believe, I'm telling you. Anyway, that's just me. And I'd decided, I remember I said, okay, I'm gonna, because I was in a musical as well in South Africa. I was working with Steve Dyer. I'm sorry, there's just so much. I was working with Steve Dyer. I did Soweto Theatre. I did Joburg Theatre, both for 2 months, and in a musical of all the things. And that was absolutely amazing in its own right. And I decided that I would just take January off. Not off in terms of work, but off in terms of being in the public eye. I was going to just use it to just concentrate more on AMMARTIA. And so that's what I did. And in between, Mukoko was being sent back and forth between the studio and me, and I was like, no, fix this. While it was being mixed, fix this, fix that. Okay, I just heard, yeah, fix this. It was while I was in studio working on the rest of the album. And we released Mukoko mid-January, and just pushed really, really hard. I can't even explain all the things that I did to make that song so successful and so massive. And it was beautiful. It was beautiful to see. Zimbabweans had finally felt like there was a sound that accommodated both cultures, or at least 2 different cultures in the country, and just still fun and fresh and young, and but mature as well. Mature crowds could enjoy it and that kind of thing. And all I was doing was just doing shows after shows. I just continued doing what I'd been doing for years now, And I remember just feeling like I just wasn't going to stop. The workaholic syndrome hit me again. In between, I come from far, guys. It was intense, but it was beautiful. You'll see. It comes out on Friday with the album launch. I really, really wanted it to come out on the 16th, but it just was not ready. I spent the whole day excited, whoo, the video's gonna be ready today. People gonna get it. AMMARTIA. And then, and then it wasn't ready. I was like, my God, what's going on? But I I did everything that I could to get it in the time frame that I wanted it, and I've done everything that I can. And I had to like just speak to God and be like, listen, I'm gonna just leave this to you now. I'm gonna let go and let God because I've done my part, you know?
He's basically said almost same thing on the album. Okay, so since the launch, you're having the launch on Friday.
Friday, the 10th of the 11th month of the 17th after of this millennium. I am so excited. Like, I've dreamt of this day for so long. Like, I can't.
It's your first album?
It's my first album. It's my debut album. Can you just believe it? Because you know, I just kept releasing singles, and I did that because on the one hand, you have all these artists. They have a good single, one good single, then they give you a cuck album. I was, and you know, and I looked at.
On it for how long?
It's been years now. You know, in terms of even just the studio work, it's probably 3 years, to be honest. And then the writing process is, you know, 5 years collectively, roughly. And I just felt like the essence of a good album had been lost. Albums stopped becoming worth buying because everybody just had one good song and then they'd give you stuff just to say. It was more like for, you know, pose's sake, like, yeah, I got an album. And I just didn't want to give people that. I really, really wanted my first foot in the door to be just honest to who I am as an artist creatively when I was ready, when I felt like everything had come full circle. And it has. So I'm ready now. And they get, you know, just a stronger idea because it's just time. It's just time. I think God knows at this point.
Okay, but
Yeah.
with the way you got people like so excited with the Achilles video and then now dropping it on the day of the album launch, do you think it's really going to quench the people's thirst?
There are two different kinds of people that witness you as an artist. There's your fans, and then there's spectators. I don't care about the spectators. I know the fans are going to love it. The spectators, I don't give that any energy.
And it has 14 tracks?
Yes, it has 14 tracks. So we managed to do, there was a single that I released a couple of years ago called Havarare. We remixed that one. A song called Denial that I did with Simba Tags. Mukoko is obviously going to be the album. What You Want is obviously going to be the album. Tawina with Hugh Masekela, as well as Next Lifetime with Hugh Masekela. And I just heard those songs today come out of the studio and I was like, ah! You know, I'm so excited. Things like Crystal Blue Moon, which is like Mbira meets Trap meets, I mean, there's just so many beautiful.
I'm talking about my song, Glow in the Dark.
Glow in the Dark. Oh my gosh, that's the one you think is the next single. No, that's not the next single. But we do want to shoot a video for Glow in the Dark. You know, that song came about 2 years ago, 3 years ago. 3 years ago. And I was in a relationship with a person who was just, he was not seeing me for me. He was still thinking about me as Ammara Brown, you know. And I was like, I'm a person. Like, I need you to see past. Yeah, I need you to see past all the publicity and past all that, you know, just the monstrosity of the fame. Like, can you just see that I'm here as a human being? Like, anyway, but I wrote on it, and that's the great part about heartbreak, because you write about it, and it's a beautiful purge, you know, like with What You Want. Women were just like, yeah, no, you know, because a lot, it's the love triangle is something that women are embarrassed to speak about, and I'm just like, nah, it's rife in this country. I've never seen a country have so many like love triangles. I mean, like it's normal, you know, and why are we acting like it's not normal? You know, it's ridiculous.
And it's not hidden anymore.
It's not hidden, you know, and I'm just like, nah, I'm gonna speak on it and I'm gonna complain if I feel like complaining, because that's how I feel. And that's the beauty of music. Or else, what are we doing? We're supposed to be taking audio pictures of our experiences and the things that we witness. And that's what this album is. It's the truth about my experiences. It's the truth about experiences that I've seen other people going through in a way that is true to my artistry, that my interpretation. This album, Ammarsha, is my interpretation of everything that I've witnessed. And I named it Ammarsha because I went through so many hardships in these past couple of years, and my fans were just so incredibly, I mean, they were spectators and they were fans. You get what I'm saying? They were Ammartians. And they've gotten me through a lot of days, more days than they know, you know. And this is my gift to them. I said it the other day. I'm just like, if I die in a car accident, it's okay. Like, y'all can be sure. Like, I gave my everything on this album, and I'm at peace with it creatively and all that follows. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Then maybe if I can ask, you're very energetic on stage. Hey? Like when you just get on stage, it's just who is this girl? But you never put on shoes when performing, right?
When I used to be in the Storm, I'd perform barefoot. I've just never been comfortable in shoes on a stage. That is just the truth. Because the stage is a sacred place. It's also a sacred place, you know, for me. Well, I don't know about everybody else, but for me, it's the reason why I'm never intoxicated when I'm on stage. Ever. I don't believe in drinking before you get on the stage. My whole band knows this about me. When we started working together, one of the most challenging parts for me was no drinking. I don't want musicians who are going to be drinking before they get onto my stage. And some people couldn't handle that. They say, she's a diva. Oh, she's difficult to work with. I'm just asking you to be professional. I don't think that's a lot, you know? I don't think that's a lot to ask. I just had some very bad experiences when I was younger, witnessing people who, you know, just intoxicated, and just the show does not happen the same. And I just wanted things to be different and to respect my working space. And when I'm taking off my shoes, I'm humbling myself. I'm also grounding myself, and I'm giving you just the side of me that is just bare, you know? So yeah, Black said to me the other day, "You're the barefoot goddess," and I was like, "Yeah, I like that. I'll take that." He's like, "Yeah." You know, there's artists in the world that love to take off their shoes. Shakira takes off her shoes all the time, just barefoot all the time. You know, and it's a comfort thing. Okay, no, she's not barefoot all the time, but I've seen her enough times on stage barefoot, and for me, it's spiritual. Let me put it to you that way. Yeah.
So maybe just to conclude, what can your fans, not just spectators, your fans,
the Ammaras,
expect on the day of the album launch? Who's going to be there? What's going to be happening?
Oh man, the launch is going to be hosted by Clive Chigubu. I love Clive. I love Clive. So already we're just starting off on a good note. We shot the EPK as well, which is going to give you a bit of a background. You're going to get the first insights to the background on really just behind the scenes and all the preparations that we had and that kind of thing. And above and beyond that, we've got a poet. Black Pearl is coming through, and she's just going to deliver something amazing with the band. And yeah, I don't want to pull all the things out of the hat, because I just want it to be an experience. I don't want it to just be like a show that you just come to and, you know, there's just like a ton of opening acts and it's just like, it's a concert, you know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, no guys, it's an album launch. It's about the album. So everything is very focused on the theme about Ammara, you know, and I'm performing the album from start to finish, the whole thing. I'm giving you everything I have on this album so that you know what to expect when you're running to the booth to go buy that thing. You're just like, yeah, you know, because performance is my favorite part, you know, the delivery. And I want people to have the Ammaran experience. I want them to get it, because oftentimes when we're sort of booked for these bigger shows or whatever, it's very, you know, it's not specific to the fans. And I want Ammarans to have, this is for them. It's, you know, it's not just for general, you know, public. It's for my fans. It's very concentrated. So I'm giving them a full Adam. And also we're releasing the Achilles video. We're gonna have a booth up so we can, I am probably gonna sign, I don't know how many 100 autographs on Friday, but I will do it until the last person leaves. So I wanna take all the pictures with all my people that came out to support me or that are coming out to support me. And yeah, just have a beautiful experience, man. Titan is joining me on stage. Natio is joining me on stage. Chengeto is joining me on stage. Unfortunately, we couldn't get Hugh Masekela to come, but he sent his love and his well wishes, and he's excited. So It's gonna be beautiful. And then anybody who's gonna be there because they're excited too. So, yeah.
I'm sure everyone is excited about this album launch. Thank you for coming to Ammara. It's been exciting.
Thank you for having me.
We see 20 to 30 minutes. I think it was about an hour.
Oh God, that must mean I'm late for rehearsals. Okay, I gotta go.
Okay, so this is it from the 2-6 Richard show, and today we had Miss Ammara Brown in the house, and she was talking about her album launch that will be taking place on Friday, the 10th of November at the venue. Please do show to be there. Where are people getting the tickets?
Or they can get tickets at Tech Tools and the venue, both in Avondale, as well as Posh in Joiner City. Tickets are available, $10. People are buying tickets like 10 at a time, 8 at a time, so y'all better hurry up. I'm just saying. I don't know what's going to happen at the...
For these and other stories, visit our website www.263chat.com. Follow us on Twitter at 263chat and like our Facebook page 263chat.